Okay, so you're in a relationship with hypnox. Now, even if you were or weren't, you would still wonder so many fucking things. Being in a relationship with me, you don't automatically start to understand or only understand every mystery I've ever given you or every random, weird, crazy thing that I've ever done, and you have to put it together and figure out the mystery and the riddle. In actuality, it's anti everything. It's anti riddle, it's anti figuring it out, it's anti why you know or understand anything. The key to it is to be as brain dead and as vapid and as empty as your competitor without the undersight of being so fucking lame and disgusting and annoying as the fucking enemy. Now, what I mean by this is that you get annoyed with me and my cat talk. Now, why do I talk like a cat, and why is it fucking annoying, and why do you not even fucking know me? And of course you don't know me. But when it gets back into this point, like, if you're able to emptily go along with the things that I say and do, and you've seen my submissive side, because most people expect like this indomitable motherfucker, and I kind of am, but that's how it looks to the rest of the world. When you're in the relationship with me and you're like, oh my god, this person is moist and sensitive and flaky and falls apart at touches and all this other fucking stuff, and it's like, it's not the giant heathen man god that you were looking for. Of course not. I'm not like that. I'm completely not fucking like that. Sorry, I'm not gay, and you know, by the end of it, I'm just very soft and pleasant. But most people find it unpleasant because they were looking for like this giant protector guardian. How I secretly protect people in my private life is so unbeknownst to anyone that they just don't notice. So they don't know my tactics, they don't know anything about me, and I want those things to be given to you, I guess, but not really. In the end, it's like too much to put up with, but those are in synonymously in idiom me, including vocabulary, which is fucking probably annoying to other people, but synonymously in odium. But by the end of it, it's just like, it might be annoying and it might not know, and to whomever it may concern, girlfriends I'm dating, past girlfriends, things like that, it's not the key to really understanding it and how disgusting that some parts of it can be. Because I would have, like, you know, been more angry about less than to find out that it's so perfect. Then why so hideful about these little things? And it's petty. It really is petty for both of us. But when you examine, and you can be as so mad as sensitive as I can be to some things, it's so small that it's only for sensitive people. So if you're not as sensitive, it's still better than you having to be so petty that you minorly forget every 5 to 10 seconds. And it's a good thing, because that's what it's like to be swept away in love with someone else. And I do that for myself and the other person. But if you can see and finally realize how petty that I actually am and how nibbly I actually am, it's not even really love, it's just pure tactic. And the times that I am oh so aroused by this person's adore or admiration towards something so elegantable and delectable, to a point where the Ashante is so beautiful that it's inconsistent, that the contestant that we're competing against has no idea where we are found and wander. So all of this meaning is really meaning to me. And why would I be so petty as to give it to you other than the smallest pronounced problem? And that's exactly what we're deleting. So I sit there and I bounce around, I talk to you cutesy wootsy, and I keep nibbling on you and taking you from room to room, and you have no idea what the cat is trying to show you. It's the same thing as that little tiny animal, and I don't know where it gets it from. So it just does it differently. See, I don't require love and trust. It's just a part of the accessory of what's going on, because you'll see that I'm so sick that I love myself, but I want you to come along if you can. But can you really nurse something so, well, disgusting? And it's not disgusting me, and it's not the disgusting you. It's something that shouldn't be there for both of us, and I'm trying to get rid of it. So we playfully go from room to room, kissing and nibbling. But if you could just see past all those things. But then as soon as you ask for an explanation, it's like I have to bring all of those things of disgusting bad and explain them and why they make sense in me and you. Don't you think it's like poisoning us backwards? So why would I ever explain? Just to enjoy the fucking ride. But then by the end of it, the only disgusting part is when I'm disgusted with myself and something I did by accident, and I have to explain it to me and you in a whisper, and then continue this incandescent spell between both of us for you to realize how tame and nobility that we must be and require in order to do this task. So isn't it easier to not lose so much energy or become so tired dealing with the explanation of me and you? And then all of a sudden I'm so lonely as I was before I met the person. Screech, glass breaks, and we break up. And I broke up with you because you required too much work for the tactic that I was going for. And it's like you are aroused by disgusting things. And it's not just like what most people deal with. It's the fact that, like, even if a girl is secretly a pervert, she's still a pervert. So I can't be with her. What does she expect from me? Like, some form of, like, a man that is just, like, into those things? Men aren't into everything, sweetie. I'm sorry to break it to you, but hypknox ain't into it, and you'll all of a sudden realize that you just don't really see much of anything, but know that it's like, I didn't notice, and then once you notice, I didn't notice once I noticed. Like, we had to, like, break. I just didn't really want to be with that thing. And then by the end of it, it's like, you know what, just go be with Sasha Grey. I'll be back later with therapy. Who the fuck does this guy think he is? And it's like, you really think I'm arrogant, but you'll never let it be proven. And I don't really give a shit. I don't do this for anybody's fucking respect. I do this shit, well, if it was about respect, then I would be alone, and usually I am. But when it comes to, like, all these little morsel moments, it's like, no one really understands that I just don't want that fucking thing. That thing. I just don't want it. So I keep getting rid of it and shit. And by the end of it, doesn't matter to me. But then by the end of it, trust isn't love and love isn't trust. But how can you trust something so voracious and potentially provocative towards being a protagonist towards things? And it's not that I want to be. It's that there's no reason for me to challenge something and or something like that, or whether I identified it or not. How the hell am I supposed to get rid of it without someone who's so trusting and innocent as I am, that when I am normally by myself, what I'm submissive about isn't something as kinky as you are? And I just don't know why I keep running into kinky girls, because I don't really need a kinky girl, nor do I even like them. They're not even my type, but I always end up with some kind of kinky girl or some kind of a slutty girl. And I'm like, well, if I had my choice, what works was what works. So by the end of it, no. And then as soon as I find out, I dig my claws in and I figure out a way to break up with them and grab them by the teeth and cowl and whisk them and throw them away into the fucking dumpster. I just don't want to be with them. So by the end of it, I'm very picky and choosy. And if you're the one, it would be like, why do I not remember half of anything except for, 75% arousal and then like 25% of devoid memory and emotions? Of course I can't do anything except for erase that fucking person. And if they're with us, we keep changing. And if I accidentally put some soul in you, it's because that's the soul I choose not to eat. And it's weird because I'll say this, for all six things clashing, let's say that both of us together are a voracious appetite, but of intellect. So the person who's smart enough to be ugly is one of ours, and I don't find the person to be ugly, but you did. So I got rid of you and kept the other person and dropped them off in a really special, unique, intelligent place. And I let them bask in their own glory because they deserved it. But then on the reverse side of things, we both were intellectually into something else, but saw the importance in what we got intellectually from that person. And pecking them to death annoyed the shit out of them, but it was the verge of their own intellect that met the epiphany of what they really definitively, or by definition, had an understanding of, that made them so delectably delicious that I couldn't emancipate what all three of us really were together in meaning. And then by the end of it, the meaning that was left over for the rest of us was something that was such an appetite where I couldn't keep the discipline at bay or abided by the true definition of what those meanings were, that I had to toss those things in the other person, including that my undivided person and an attentiveness to that person could make ends meet on the fact that it belonged to someone else. And so I couldn't therefore sell your soul than into tricking them into consumption for what was less than an endowment to their own intellect, that it wasn't like a new experience. And nothing will ever be like a new experience. You just need a new experience. And sadly, by the end of it, those experiences that I put in you and why it felt like candy wasn't me and you. It was me being so controlling that I was satisfying myself. And me succumbing to compassion in that way would look like someone so dwarfed by sanity that the sanity encompassed the fact that reality was that you get off on my confusion and frustration like an intelligent person watching a stupid person. The problem is that this doesn't happen very often, and I know it isn't an intelligent person because no one intelligent would be minding my privacy to such a great extent, or an grande extent. But what it really means is that we get back to the real meaning of this. Now, even when I know you're bouncing around like a Barbie doll and so simple in the head that it fucks it all, it's not that your euphoric state keeps you in such a limited state of stupidity. It's that you would be so limited as to be so happy in a world that's so demisable by the gauge of things that I have set for what I think is my true orgasm or for my true anonymity. Now, when I add up all these things and I am sitting there making a person of us and me and you, I am in love. I am in love with you and what I demand of me and you. But then by the end of it, it always feels so empty to know that, like, of course you're dumb, you're trusting, you're innocent, and fucking ravishly beautiful. But then also my appetite is a fool, an idiot, and some kind of discipline that isn't understood by shallow people who are so, well, the word is taunting, tainting, and teasing. Of course, I never mean to tease you, but I have to know that you're there and not the opponent. So by the end of it, does it really matter what's worth more than money? Does it really matter what I'm worth? And then by the end of it, it's only me and your secret. So if you ever begin to understand, it's like a new experience. And who the hell can need you to understand other than to finally feel the kiss of true sanity, the kiss of true love and trust? And then by the end of it, could you ever really trust something like that? Something that has deep, true control over you? Or do you trust that it has its own sanity? And do you like it? Like, my kisses taste like heartache. And it's weird because I'm always lonely. And by the end of it, even when I'm with you and her and that other thing and the thing that I'm eating and engulfing the life and madness out of it, until I see the innocence in your eyes again, I know I'll truly be lonely for the rest of my life. So don't guess, don't think too hard about it. Don't try to figure it out so much. It's best when you left it vapid, empty, and shallow, and it just kept going from thing to thing. Because then by the end of it, you don't think about it so much, and no one can catch us. We're invisible, we're inclusive, we're idealistic, we're diminutive, and to the point where we're dashing and weaving and waving, and no one can know all the better or all the wiser to what we were really doing. And it's just that simple. Room to room, interlude to interlude, escalade to escalade. And I love it. We don't really have a navigator. And even if I would call someone navigation of this, it would be like, why are all your best hearts in cars? I don't know why either, but now you know. But either way, it's still one of those things where the paradox that's in our eyes between us that is called love is a paradox. When would we ever meet up under terms where it was completely understood? Never. And that's why love is trust and trust is love. Because you would need to understand that there is no motive, really. There is no motive. Because then by the end of it, we just like facing two moons under the light of one love, and we wouldn't be able to understand it. We're only affecting something more powerful than us at all times in order to be safe in the shadow. So how the fuck would we really do that? I don't know. Impossible is remembering anything but those endorsive moments that we had, and always seemed provoked by something. I hope I am your prerogative. I hope this makes sense. I hope it doesn't. But by the end of it, it still arrives to the conclusion that if this ever makes sense to you, me, or anyone else, then you're safe, you're by yourself, you're with someone who makes you feel complete. And that's the word for it, complete. And though you're giddy, happy, and silly, and bouncing around, and sometimes the emotions get so deep and just wondering what it is, why, or how, and this, that, and the other are the 5 words that don't count to anyone else except for the detective. It all just leads back to, are you happy? Do you remember unhappiness? And damn, who would wonder so much as to not know that they're really almost asking me for unhappiness? We were happy, bouncing around. And that's all that matters. Hot, cold, atoms, things in you that are combustible, things nibbled to the surface, all kinds of stuff. Somewhere else that's a heart attack. But anyways, I feign the interest and feel only bad for the one regret that I have is putting someone else's soul in you for a moment and then engulfing it and eating it and then leaving you giggling. And I'll tell you why I regret that later. As in some weird way, I'm looking at my watch and waiting for that mistake to come back up through fate and then kiss it right on its forehead or on its cheek and use you. Miss Alicia doesn't know what I'm talking about. And every time you bounce me around from this person to that person, and I realize no one knows what I'm talking about, and I'm literally in an escapade on my own. And then it cascades all the unformidability of my opponents, and I look into your eyes and I wonder why the fuck you would ever try to organize a fight for me. Tick tock, tick